Most lifters think the harder they train, the more muscle they build. So they take set after set to absolute failure, grind out ugly reps, and leave the gym completely destroyed. But here's the problem. More effort doesn't always mean more growth. In fact, if you take too many sets to failure, the extra fatigue can make it harder to recover, perform, and progress in your next workout. And once you understand why, you'll realize that the best muscle building set isn't always the one that leaves you completely exhausted. Think about a workout that leaves you so sore and fatigued that you're still recovering several days later. It feels productive, it feels like you did enough. But if that fatigue keeps reducing your performance in the next workout, you're creating a problem. Because muscle growth isn't just about how hard you train today. It's about whether you can recover from today's training and perform well enough to make progress next time. You can spend more time in the gym, do more sets, and push every set harder. And still make slower progress if the fatigue keeps accumulating. That's the trap. So in this video, you'll learn the simple reason training harder can eventually work against you, what research actually says about training to failure, and the adjustment you can make immediately to get most of the muscle building stimulus without unnecessary fatigue. And the fix is surprisingly simple. You don't need to stop training hard. You just need to stop making every set a maximum effort set. Here's what matters. When you lift a challenging weight, your muscles experience mechanical tension. That tension is one of the primary signals involved in stimulating muscle growth. As a set gets harder, more high-threshold motor units are recruited, and the final challenging reps become especially important. That's why training close to failure can be extremely effective. But here's the part many lifters miss. Getting closer to failure doesn't mean the muscle-building stimulus keeps increasing endlessly. Once you're already very close to failure, squeezing out that final rep may provide only a small additional stimulus, while creating a much larger increase in fatigue. And that fatigue doesn't disappear when the set ends. It can affect the rest of your workout, your recovery, and your performance in future sessions. So the goal isn't, how destroyed can I make myself? The goal is, how much useful stimulus can I create while still recovering well enough to progress? This is where the research gets interesting. Studies comparing resistance training taken to failure with training stopped short of failure generally show that you don't have to reach absolute failure on every set to build muscle effectively. When sets are performed sufficiently close to failure, similar hypertrophy can often be achieved without taking every set to the point where another clean rep is impossible. And research reviews on resistance training and hypertrophy consistently point toward the importance of training effort, while also recognizing the fatigue cost associated with repeated failure training. So failure isn't useless, it's a tool. Taking a set to failure can be perfectly appropriate in certain situations, especially with safer isolation exercises. The mistake is turning the tool into the requirement for every set of every workout. This is where most lifters accidentally sabotage themselves. Mistake number 1, treating failure as the definition of a good set. If the set doesn't end with a grinder, they assume it wasn't effective. It was. A hard set stopped with 1 or 2 good reps still available can provide a strong muscle-building stimulus. Mistake number 2, judging workouts by soreness. Being sore doesn't automatically mean you stimulated more growth, and not being sore doesn't mean the workout failed. Your target is progress, not pain. Mistake number 3, adding fatigue instead of adding progression. If your numbers aren't improving, the answer isn't automatically more sets and more failure. Sometimes the better move is recovering better so you can actually perform better next session. So here's what I want you to do in your very next workout. For most of your working sets, stop when you estimate you have 1 or 2 clean reps left in the tank. That's roughly 1 to 2 reps in reserve. Keep your technique controlled. Then track your performance from workout to workout. If you're getting stronger, maintaining good technique, and gradually adding reps or load, you're giving yourself something far more valuable than temporary exhaustion. Progressive overload you can actually recover from. You can still use failure strategically. For example, you might take the final set of a machine or isolation exercise to failure occasionally. But you don't need to turn every compound movement and every working set into a survival test. Train hard. Then leave enough recovery capacity to train hard again. Remember the lifter who thought being completely destroyed after every workout meant they were making the most progress. That's the trap. Maximum effort isn't the same thing as maximum growth. Muscle growth requires a strong training stimulus. But it also requires you to recover and come back capable of producing another strong stimulus. So instead of asking, did I train as hard as possible? Start asking, did I train hard enough to stimulate growth, while leaving enough in the tank to progress again? That's a much better question. Train close enough to failure to create a strong stimulus, but not so hard that fatigue becomes the thing limiting your progress. If you want more science-backed fitness breakdowns without the usual gym myths, subscribe to FitLab.